There are times in life when it feels like everything around us is unraveling. Aspirations that once felt certain now seem hazy, and the goals we chased with so much passion begin to lose their meaning. Who hasn't paused in a moment of doubt to wonder, is this truly the life I want to be living? Or am I just going through the motions, following a path that was never really mine? These aren't random questions. They surface for a reason. They echo a deeper truth within us, a quiet inner voice nudging us to stop, reflect, and face the one person who matters most in this process, ourselves. Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds of the 20th century, once said, "Life really begins at 40. Not because the years before are meaningless, but because those early chapters are like a rehearsal, a time to learn, grow, and figure out who we are." But what if discovering who we are isn't tied to any specific age? What Jung described as individuation, the journey to becoming our true selves, can begin at any point, as long as we're willing to face the layers we've built up over time. Self-discovery isn't a single breakthrough or sudden transformation. It often starts subtly, with quiet discomforts like the dullness of routine, a relationship that feels stagnant, or the unsettling sense of living without direction. These moments of unease, though difficult, are valuable. They push us to question the story we've been telling ourselves, to rethink our past choices and acknowledge the possibility that we may be walking a road that was never truly ours. But how can we tell if we're heading the right way? And even more crucially, how do we begin building a path that genuinely reflects who we are? This video invites you to explore these questions with me. Let's reflect on what it means to craft a life not just filled with action, but filled with meaning. A life where each step aligns more closely with our true identity. Think of it this way. Each of us wears a kind of mask, not to deceive others, but to meet expectations, the image society expects us to project. This mask, or persona as Jung called it, serves as a kind of armor. It helps us adapt and navigate a complex world, starting from childhood. We begin shaping this mask early on, influenced by our family, our culture, our spiritual or religious background, and the environment in which we grow up. As children, we absorb what we're taught, what behaviors are praised, which values are rewarded, and what aspects of ourselves should be hidden to fit in. Over time, the persona becomes more than just a helpful tool. It can become a subtle cage. Jung didn't see the persona as inherently bad. In fact, he believed it was essential. Without it, we couldn't build relationships, function professionally, or meet the demands of daily life. But if we wear the mask for too long, we risk forgetting who we are beneath it. We start to believe we are the role we play, and that illusion can slowly suffocate our true self. That's when the fractures begin to show. Often they emerge during times of inner turmoil or external crisis. You might find yourself chasing a life that doesn't feel like your own, a career chosen to fulfill your parents' dreams, a relationship that looks perfect from the outside but feels distant, a lifestyle crafted to meet society's standards. Everything might appear picture perfect on the surface, but deep down there's an ache, a quiet sense of disconnection. That's because the persona, no matter how polished or convincing, can never fully contain our entire being. As time goes on, wearing that mask becomes more uncomfortable. What once helped us succeed starts to feel restrictive. We begin to feel boxed in by identities that no longer resonate. The high achiever who's burnt out, the devoted partner who feels emotionally adrift, Or the friend who always agrees just to avoid conflict or abandonment. And then comes the pressing question, who am I when I'm not performing? This marks the beginning of a deeper quest, a yearning to live more truthfully. It's the moment we realize we've buried parts of ourselves beneath a socially acceptable version of who we were expected to be. To rediscover who we are, we must first summon the courage to challenge that facade, to move beyond outside approval and ask, what truly matters to me? Digging beneath the persona isn't simple. It demands facing judgment from others, letting go of ideas we once held dear, and sometimes disappointing people who only know the version of us we've always shown. But this journey, while difficult, is also deeply freeing, because only when we strip back the layers can we begin to uncover what's real and lasting within us. Letting go of the persona isn't the end. It's only the first step. Once the mask is removed, we're confronted with the vast inner world we've kept hidden, and not all of it is easy to accept. This inner terrain is what Jung called the shadow. It's the side of us we avoid, deny, or pretend isn't there. The fears we push down, the desires we keep secret, the strengths we fail to recognize. The shadow is made up of everything we reject, but it never truly goes away. Why do we fear it so much? Perhaps because we were taught from a young age to only present our best side. How many of us heard things like, stop crying, be strong, that's not okay? Gradually, we learned that certain emotions, like anger, vulnerability, or doubt, were unacceptable. So we locked them away, hoping that by ignoring them, they'd disappear. But the truth is, what we suppress doesn't vanish. It lingers in the background, waiting for a chance to surface. Encountering the shadow is unsettling. It forces us to acknowledge our dualities. We can be giving, but also self-centered, courageous yet full of insecurities, hungry for love, yet terrified of being hurt. This is the real work of self-discovery, holding space for our contradictions, and learning to embrace the whole of who we are. These opposing aspects within us can be frightening because they threaten the identity we've carefully constructed. But, as Jung pointed out, it's only by acknowledging our shadow that we can achieve true inner completeness. Confronting our shadow isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of immense bravery. Picture someone finally admitting their fear of failure. That person may come to realize that beneath the fear lies a genuine hunger for growth and purpose. Or someone who recognizes their envy might see that it points towards something they secretly yearn to create or experience. As intimidating as it may be, the shadow is a gateway to deeper understanding. When we face it directly, it ceases to be a lurking threat and becomes a part of ourselves that we can accept and work with. It's important to understand that we don't have to go through this process alone. Opening up to trusted friends or working with a therapist can bring comfort and guidance along the way. The shadow feeds off solitude and silence, but its influence fades when it's brought into the light. Welcoming these hidden parts of ourselves doesn't mean we're fixing something that's broken. Quite the opposite. It's a recognition that being human means carrying both light and dark within us. And by integrating these aspects, we begin to experience a deeper kind of liberation, one that doesn't depend on approval from others. It's the freedom to live as our authentic selves, unfiltered and unmasked. Embracing the shadow places us at a pivotal stage in the journey of self-awareness, the path of individuation. Carl Jung described individuation as the process of becoming whole, merging all aspects of the self, light and dark, intellect and instinct, identity and essence. It's the moment we let go of trying to fulfill others' expectations and start living in alignment with our true nature. But what does it mean to truly awaken to who we are? In essence, it means shifting from autopilot to intentional living. It means peeling back the layers of roles and assumptions to uncover what genuinely matters. This transformation is rarely neat or predictable. In fact, it often starts with a personal crisis. The sense that life has lost its meaning, the frustration of being trapped in an endless loop, or the realization that former goals no longer inspire us. Though painful, these crises are powerful invitations to evolve. It's as if life urges us to pause, reflect, and ask, who am I beneath all this? And more importantly, what do I truly want? The answers won't be found in self-help books or the advice of others. They live inside us, waiting to be uncovered. Individuation doesn't mean abandoning everything we've done up to this point. In truth, it's about reinterpreting our past with new eyes. It's the act of reviewing our choices to see which came from fear or the need to please others, and which ones genuinely align with our core values. It's a return to our forgotten dreams and passions, the ones buried under the weight of daily obligations. As we become more attuned to our authentic selves, we begin to feel a renewed clarity and a deeper, lasting freedom. True freedom isn't about doing whatever we please without facing consequences. It's about living in alignment with our real selves. Choices that once seemed overwhelming, like switching careers, ending a relationship, or reconsidering old friendships, begin to feel more natural because they're rooted in what truly sustains us. As we move along this journey, we come to understand that authenticity doesn't require perfection. In fact, it means recognizing and embracing our flaws as vital pieces of what makes us who we are. By allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and fully present, we discover that it's this sincerity that forges genuine connections with others. It's not the image of perfection that inspires people, but the strength it takes to show up as our true selves. Awakening to our real identity brings deep transformation, not because we turn into someone new, but because we finally begin to express the person we've always been underneath. It's a return to what is real, raw, and meaningful. Rediscovering your true self isn't the destination. It's the beginning of a life that finally feels authentic. Once we bring all aspects of ourselves into harmony and choose to live authentically, something powerful happens. We experience true liberation, not the kind we once envisioned in our youth, the freedom to do as we please, but the freedom to live with intention, aligning our behavior with our deepest principles. Living purposefully doesn't require having everything figured out or following a flawless plan. Quite the contrary. It's about embracing the ever-changing nature of life and making choices that reflect who we really are in the midst of uncertainty. It means acting in line with our core values, even when it challenges the status quo. Think about the relief and clarity that comes from making a choice that truly resonates with you. Perhaps turning down an offer that doesn't sit right with you, or finally dedicating time to a long-standing dream you've been putting off in the name of practicality. These moments of connection with our inner truth are empowering. They remind us that life isn't about conforming to external templates. It's about forging a path that's uniquely ours. Still, this kind of freedom doesn't come without its hardships. Often, living a life with purpose means letting go of outdated beliefs, relationships, or routines that hold us back. It's natural to feel fear during these changes. Fear of failing, of disappointing others, or of feeling lost in unfamiliar territory. But we must remember, being true to ourselves doesn't mean life will be easy. It means we'll face life's challenges with bravery, knowing we're being honest with who we are. Living with intention also reshapes how we relate to others. We begin to attract people who align with our values, who uplift and encourage us. We become more mindful of where we invest our time and energy, focusing on what genuinely matters. And through this process, we see that living with purpose isn't just about grand shifts, it's also about the everyday decisions that echo our true identity. A vital part of this kind of freedom is learning to accept. Living with intention doesn't mean we'll never face uncertainty or hard days. Quite the opposite. It means embracing life's imperfections while still finding deep significance in the journey. When we shift to this mindset, we stop depending on external results to feel fulfilled. Instead, we begin to find contentment in simply being present, in staying true to who we are. This is the power of purposeful living. Each step we take, no matter how minor it seems, becomes an expression of our true identity. Over time, we realize that those once difficult choices were the very ones that shaped a life that feels genuinely ours. Not because everything went according to plan, but because we lived it with honesty and heart. When we release ourselves from the pressure to meet outside expectations and begin aligning with what truly matters to us, something profound happens. We realize our lives carry the potential to touch others. We become sources of inspiration and agents of meaning. That influence doesn't have to be loud or monumental. It shows up in the quiet ways we move through the world and in how we affect those around us. Leaving a personal legacy isn't about gaining fame or applause. It's about embodying our principles and encouraging others to do the same. It's in the everyday choices, the relationships we invest in, and the purpose we infuse into our lives. Often, our greatest impact is unseen, found in a thoughtful word, a kind act, or simply the bravery of living in alignment with our true selves. That alone can serve as a powerful example. Think about someone who has left a lasting impression on you. Maybe a teacher, a friend, or a writer whose message stayed with you. What made them unforgettable likely wasn't their status or possessions, but the way they lived with honesty and heart. Their legacy lives on because they remain true to who they were. When we commit to that same authenticity, we leave our own mark, often without realizing it. How we deal with life's obstacles is a part of that legacy too. Struggles will always be part of the picture, but what matters is how we meet them. By facing fear, owning our flaws, and walking a path of meaning, we show others that they too can rise above challenges and be true to themselves. In doing so, we send a message to the world. No matter how heavy life feels, there is always strength inside you waiting to be found. Leaving a personal legacy also means recognizing that it continues beyond our time here. Our choices ripple outward, influencing lives in ways we may never see. Teaching a child to believe in themselves, sharing a story that moves someone. These seemingly small acts plant seeds that continue to grow long after we're gone. Ultimately, a meaningful legacy isn't measured by what we gather, but by how we've lived. It survives in the stories others tell about us, the bonds we formed, and the truth we live by. And the most beautiful part? When we live a life of purpose and authenticity, that legacy emerges naturally, a living reflection of our essence. As we reach the close of this chapter, I hope you feel encouraged to turn inward, to accept every facet of who you are, and to either begin or keep walking the path toward the life you truly long for. Because life doesn't start with an achievement or an external milestone. It starts the moment we reconnect with ourselves. That's where the real journey begins. A beginning that not only reshapes our own lives, but also leaves an impression on the world around us. Life starts when we discover who we really are. That's the message that resonates throughout everything we've explored. It's not about a singular breakthrough or a finish line. It's about the continuous unfolding of understanding and self-acceptance. Along this road, we confront the masks we wear, make peace with our shadows, wake up to our inner truth, and step into the freedom that comes from living with intention. In doing so, we realize that our authenticity has a ripple effect. It encourages others to do the same. Every moment on this path invites us to pause and reflect. What truly brings me joy? What ignites my soul? What does it look like to live honestly and fully as myself? These questions, though they may seem simple, have the power to shift our lives entirely. They allow us to live not for validation or out of fear, but from a place of courage and completeness. That's the gift of a life rooted in self-awareness. It won't be flawless, but it will be genuine. And by choosing to live in truth, we not only liberate ourselves, we also offer others the permission to do likewise. In the end, when we live with honesty, the world often mirrors that honesty back to us. Thank you for making it this far. This isn't just a monologue, it's a shared space for reflection on what truly matters. And before we wrap up, let me tell you a quick story. A few weeks ago, I was out on a walk, trying to clear my head after a long day. I ended up wandering into a small secondhand bookstore, one of those cozy, quiet places that smell like time and dust. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just browsing aimlessly. But then I picked up this old, weathered poetry book. Inside the front cover, someone had scribbled a note in faded ink. It wasn't even part of the book, just a personal message someone had written to a friend, maybe decades ago. It read, "Life quietly begins the moment you stop performing and start simply being." That line hit me harder than anything I've read in a long time. It reminded me how easily we slip into roles, trying to be what others expect, what society rewards, what we think will keep us safe. But that quote made something click. We don't have to earn the right to be ourselves. And the most freeing truth? We can come back to who we are, at any moment, at any age. We're never too far gone. If this video spoke to something deep within you, I have a small request. Would you consider hitting the like button, leaving a comment, or subscribing to the channel? That little like might seem insignificant, but it genuinely helps others find content like this. More importantly, it means a lot just knowing you're here. Before you head out, you'll notice a few suggested videos on your screen. I won't spoil the surprise by explaining them. I'll just say they continue the conversation in powerful ways that complement what we've explored here. If you're ready to keep diving into this journey of self-discovery, you won't regret watching them. Thanks for showing up and for being a part of this shared reflection. I'll meet you again, whether in another video or in the quiet moments of your own personal journey. Until then, take care and keep uncovering what it truly means to be yourself.